Good evening. It is Monday, May 28th, and I call the, it is Tuesday, May 28th, and I call the Maple Plains City Council meeting to order. Please stand and join us for the pledge. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'm looking for a motion to adopt tonight's agenda.
So moved.
Moved by Cahill,
Second.
second by DeLuca. Any further discussion? All in favor of adopting the agenda as is?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. First item of business is visitors to be heard. Seeing none, we will continue on. Consent agenda this evening. I'm looking for a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Can I make a change to this?
You sure can.
I would like to review the employee handbook amendment conflict of interest wording.
So we will pull letter B. All right. Looking for a motion to approve the consent agenda, letters A, C, D, E, F, G, H, and I.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Councilmember Fay,
I'll second.
second by Councilmember DeLong. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Let's go back to letter B, employee handbook amendment, conflict of interest, and I'll turn that over to Councilmember DeLong.
When I read this over last night, I understand what we're trying to do, but I think that it could be worded a little better.
Okay.
Just because of the way it says, elected or appointed city council members may not concurrently hold a position as a regular, full-time, temporary, paid on-call firefighter or consultant positions. So I just think as far as, I wasn't sure if it was talking about regular firefighter, full-time firefighter, temporary firefighter. I know it paid on-call firefighter. I think it could be worded. I have a recommendation where I said elected or appointed city council members may not concurrently hold a position as a regular, full-time, or temporary employee, paid on-call firefighter, or consultant.
Yeah, I would say that the only distinction is that paid on-call firefighters are employees. And I know that they still fall into the they're the part-time, is how they're labeled in our employee handbook, I believe, are firefighters. Part of the reason why it's stated this way is, if you look at the paragraph ahead, which was the first paragraph, that stayed pretty much the same. We wanted to use a lot of the same language. We just wanted to add the appointed city council member too, so that was covered in this conflict of interest area. But I think a lot of it was trying to kind of mirror that first paragraph was the idea of it, just to be consistent with that language. But
Sure. I understand where why it's there. It's just
Yep.
that the way because we have position to start out, hold a position, and then it ends with consultant positions. But I think it's important that we distinguish that the regular, full-time, and temporary refers to employees, right, of the city.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas when I read it first, I didn't know that specified employees of the city. I thought
Or
it meant
firefighters.
I was going, okay, is this for more firefighter
Sure.
language, or just a suggestion. I think it could be worded so it flows a little bit smoother and is a little more.
As long as we're on that, what is the distinction between officers of the fire department from fire chief 1 all the way down to inspector? They are not paid on-call firefighters?
No, they are.
They are.
They are. They have a stipend attached, but they are still designated
so it's
as a paid on-call firefighter.
Okay.
That is correct.
So I'm going to refer to that to the Personnel Committee, which is Councilmember DeLuca and Councilmember Cahill and our Administrator Bobby.
And I think when we reviewed that, we were after the logic that the firefighters are employees as well as full-time and temporary and regular employees. And the consultants being the stipend consultants that we have, like engineer,
Yeah.
Planning and
Does this
planning, et cetera.
legal.
Preclude or exclude anyone? I mean, is this all-encompassing,
Yep.
basically? I mean,
Correct.
okay, so.
Yep.
So it's consistent. Does that make sense, Councilmember DeLong, or are you still advocating for change and unclear?
I'm advocating strictly for change in the grammar, I guess, or in the wording. I'm not suggesting any changes whatsoever in the meaning or what we're trying to accomplish.
Yeah, I see your point. It could definitely be read that way if you're not aware of the different types
Yeah.
of employment in the city.
I had my wife review it as well and said,
Mhm.
let me know what you think about this without saying, and she said, I'm not really clear on who's, on what this is saying.
Sure, sure.
And I think for the record, I don't think this is changing anything. It is simply clarifying the position
Correct.
this council's
Correct.
had for years.
Yeah,
Correct.
I would agree with that.
Well, it is it's clarifying the view of conflict of interest. That is what this is doing. Now, I don't see any harm in adding where I would add the term employee is after paid on-call firefighter. Because they all are considered employees of the city. So if the issue that I see is that if we put employee after full-time and temporary, then someone could almost make an argument that paid on-call firefighters aren't employees, otherwise you would have included them into that phrase. Consultants are employees too, but a little differently. I think consultant position is fine just the way it is. I guess what I would recommend then is saying something along the lines of adding elected or appointed city council members may not concurrently hold a position as a regular, full-time, temporary, paid on-call firefighter employees or consultant
you-
positions.
Would you have to leave firefighter in there? Could it be paid on-call employees?
You could actually, theoretically, you could
'Cause
just remove.
That's one of our definitions in the
Y-
handbook, isn't it?
I think it was to parallel the
The language.
paragraph
Yeah.
above.
Okay.
So,
Hold an employee position as a regular, full-time, temporary, paid on-call firefighter or consultant position, whatever, it's,
Yeah, that works too.
Hold an employee position would work.
yeah, I think that probably makes the most sense,
Okay.
right there.
Any employee
Okay.
position, including, but not limited to,
So
something like that.
can we make those changes?
Yep.
Tonight and make the motion then?
Yep.
Okay, so I'm looking for a motion to approve the employee handbook amendment conflict of interest to read, elected or appointed city council members may not concurrently hold an employee position as a regular, full-time, temporary, paid on-call firefighter or consultant positions.
Sounds good.
Yep.
So, looking for a motion?
So moved.
Councilmember DeLong, looking for a second?
I'll second that.
Councilmember Gale, any further discussion? All in favor of the changes of the handbook amendment as noted?
Aye.
aye.
Same sign. All right, motion carries. Next item of business is our administrative reports, which everyone has had in advance and had a chance to read. So if there's no questions or discussion on those, I'm looking for a motion to accept the administrative reports as submitted.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Councilmember Fay,
I'll second that.
second by Councilmember DeLuca. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. All right, administrative reports are accepted. Next item of business is our new business, ordinance 304, city fee schedule amendment. I'm gonna turn that over to staff.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor and City Council. We're making one small change here, and it's really more of a clarifying position in the city fee schedule. We're under the utility fee portion of this, and previously we had separated a commercial industrial credit charge to a residential water access charge. And what we're looking to do is actually just simplify this and saying that a water credit is $3,000 per unit. And where the difference comes from a residential to a commercial business is a Met Council determines how many of those credits make up a commercial building. So if you look at it as one newly constructed house or just any house you see in Maple Plain, it's worth one credit. Now, if you were to open up a car wash that uses a lot of water, the Met Council determines how much water is that car wash using in comparison to one residential house. So it looks and says, it could say something, well, that car wash is worth 10 credits. And it would just then be simply It's $3,000 per credit, so if you wanted to build a new home in Maple Plain, it'd be $3,000 for that water access charge. If you wanted to build that car wash, it would be $30,000 for that charge then. So we're looking to simplify that. Outside the city rate would remain the same at $7,500 per unit. And we have some of those too that take place. So it just cleans up, removes a lot of the language that was previously in there. They had commercial industrial listed at $12,000 per unit. And this simplifies it and stays consistent with surrounding cities as well. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions pertaining to this fee schedule amendment.
Any questions for staff? With that, I'm looking for a motion then to approve ordinance 304, the city fee schedule amendment.
So moved.
Moved by Councilmember Cahill,
Second.
second by Councilmember DeLuca. Any further discussion?
One thought or question, Bobby, I wonder if this summer, fallish is another time to kind of reevaluate the entire fee structure.
Yeah, we
You know,
typically do
during
that
budget
every,
time.
we do it every December into January.
But I don't think we've actually revised these in the last number of years, and it may be, some of these, as I went through, seemed artificially low, perhaps,
Sure,
so.
sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Any further discussion? Okay, looking, all in favor of approving ordinance 304?
Aye.
Do a
Aye.
roll call real
Oh,
quick.
I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. Councilmember DeLuca,
Aye.
Councilmember DeLong,
Aye.
Councilmember Cahill,
Aye.
Mayor Moskowski,
Aye.
Councilmember Fay.
Aye.
The ayes have it 5-0.
Next item of business for new business is partial liquor license for the Maple Plain Baseball Association.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor and City Council. What you have before you is a liquor license for Maple Plain Town Team to serve specifically beer in the Veterans Memorial Park where they play their games. Now, this would be applicable to the Maple Plain Diamond Devils and some of the softball games that go on there between the adults there. So what ended up happening here is that we had worked with the town team to put together a package that would include insurance to cover any liability. The city would be additionally insured. This is not the set in stone policy. This is a quote that put together. They wouldn't give us that because it's not a renewal. They won't give you what that looks like unless it were to be approved by council. We requested, and I specifically called the insurance agent and said, well, the city is going to be additionally insured. Otherwise, that's a non-starter to begin with. On some of the fee stuff here, because this is a 6-month application, I looked at it and I reduced the fee schedule in half for this application here because it's only serving, like I said, half the year. What needs to happen for this, if council were to even consider approving this tonight, is I would need to get a certificate of liability to cover the city, which would be printed after, if this was again approved tonight. And then we would also probably want to look at making sure that employees are trained to serve alcohol to, we have a party on a park event coming up on Saturday, and I know I'll be working that, and we had to go through a training to make sure that we are able to differentiate minors and those who are legally able to drink alcohol. So we would want that mandate in place as well. We have a pretty good idea of what the schedule is, but I don't give specific dates in here, and the reason why is because, if there's a rain event or something like that and they have to reschedule a game, I wanted to leave that kind of open there for them to be able to schedule that and yet still be able to sell beer if they wish to. So I think that's really what we're looking at. This is a Sunday sale because they do have games on Sunday, and then a wine and beer on sale, which is permitted with council approval. So with that, I'm sure there are some questions, and I anticipate that. So I'd be happy to answer any of those that council may have.
So the two that because the boxes aren't checked, so this is Sunday on sale and wine and beer on sale,
Yep.
okay? And then we have a 6-month license, but does it state anywhere that it can only be that they're selling during baseball games, so they're not having parties on weekends or
Yeah,
selling beer?
that can be distinguished, yeah, that this has to be during those games, and that's the understanding right now, too.
I would still advocate that I think dates are important. I think they're important for a couple reasons, just for that point. So if all of a sudden we're having a work day, that people aren't up there drinking alcohol. Also for our staff, so we can let, the law enforcement in West Hennepin know, when these permits are approved and when there should be alcohol in the park.
Sure, and this actually is still pending a background check approval from West Hennepin. This has not been signed off by them yet either. So this does need to be approved by West Hennepin yet.
Right, I
Um,
understand that, but I think.
But no, I
To the date.
completely understand your point there. Like I said, I'd be happy, whatever, however city council feels is best to move with this application, we'll do. Like I said, I determined to leave this kind of open-ended just for rescheduled games, if that took place, and then also the softball association, but, we can get those dates more in concrete, and if there is a rained-out game, then there's just no selling of alcohol then those dates.
Well, or why can't they, let's use the season dates.
Yep.
They have to notify if there's been a rain delay and when the reschedule is, so that we can notify West Hennepin and, you know, so it's not like they
Sure.
lose that opportunity to sell it, but at least it's on them to tell us when the reschedule is.
Sure, yeah, that's also another option. Yeah.
And I think we could condition this motion in a way that would provide you some guidance tonight. Therefore, what I would do is move that we approve this, but I am not interested in waiving the application fee or cutting the yearly fee down by half. So my motion is that we would follow our procedures and an application fee and a on sale pursuant to our policies be charged. It would only be contingent on baseball games that they would have to tell you, and that this would be pending a West Hennepin safety's background checks, with the additional caveat that, that training would need to occur prior to any sale.
Sure, makes sense. Absolutely.
And I would also add that there needs to be clear communication that you still cannot bring in alcohol. Just because they're selling doesn't mean anyone can bring in, because we need
Correct.
people served and watching for over drinking and
Yep.
as well.
I would be happy to include that in my motion.
And I
Does that
just-
include softball too, Mike?
And I
was
want
gonna get-
to, I want to confirm this too, because we discussed this at length a couple of weeks ago in a workshop.
Yep.
And there were, if I remember correctly, there were 3 directions, I guess, given you. And one of them was that there is absolutely no liability to the city. And I'm glad you mentioned that we are additionally insured, because
Yep.
I think the liability coverage is a little weak at $300,000 per incident. Now, I'm not an insurance agent. I don't know how that number came up. But what do you mean by the city will be an additionally insured? There cannot be any
Sure,
liability from
yeah,
the
and that's
city whatsoever.
And that's why we're additionally insured. So basically, it says that if there's an incident or something happens, your insurance policy it includes us.
But remember,
meaning that we're
something
covered.
catastrophic happens in any situation. I own a
Yep.
lot of toys.
Yep.
So I also have an umbrella policy on top of all my other policies.
Correct.
And so what happens is when there's a catastrophic event, people start going after the money. The Dirt Devils do not, or the Diamond Devils do not have any assets. So they're not gonna go after their assets. They're gonna go after their $300,000
Insurance
limit
policy.
of liability.
Yep.
And then if they want more, they're gonna start with the city. Then they're gonna hit the beer distributor, and then they're gonna hit on and on and on until they get their $1 million.
So how did that number come up is what
Yeah.
you're asking?
Yeah.
It matches Loretto and what they do.
Okay,
with
so
their
you did,
zoning.
that was another thing. You
Yep.
were going to reach out to
Yep.
Loretto, Minnetrista,
Yep.
New Hope, et cetera.
This policy is, it matches what Loretto does.
Okay,
And, yeah, so that's how this number came up.
okay. Then is there the specifics of the application, not only with the city, but with the Department of Public Safety, with the Alcohol
Yep.
and Gambling Board? is the Maple Plain Diamond Devils, are they an entity or just a title?
Well, it's the Maple Plain, I mean, technically it's the Baseball Association, I believe is what they go under.
Okay, because where do they receive their mail?
I believe their mail actually goes to John Tempe's. place.
Because the business address on every application here is 1664 Bud Avenue.
Yeah, and part of that
which
is
is well
just,
number 3.
Yeah. that-
it's well one.
Or well 1?
Yeah.
Well, I'm sorry,
It's
well
the
1.
old-
Yeah, technically the park is a unassigned property address. So when we're saying it's actually named as 77 unaddressed. So there is no official address given to the baseball field or the park where they play. The closest one that does meet is the 1664 Bud Avenue, which is where you are correct, is where the well is at.
Mhm.
So they're not wrong in saying that, it actually says address of, premise where they will be conducting this. That is the most accurate address for this application.
Okay, that's fair. And then in the quotation from Risk Placement Services,
Yep,
the Maple Plain Diamond Devils are the applicant,
yep,
but then 50/50 Independence Street is the location information. That is City Hall.
yeah. I can talk with them about that.
I just, there's,
Yeah.
it's
Well,
it's all in the
1660
details.
Yeah, 1664 is, everything is city property though, John, either way you look at this. 1664 is city property, where the baseball field is, that's city property.
But if the association is buying the insurance, is the named insured, is the one taking the liability that is gonna free the city from
It's not
any
the city.
potential liability, then the addresses have to work and not be part of, all I'm saying is, the
Mhm.
city can't be involved in this. I'm in
Agreed.
favor of the beer in the park,
Yep,
okay, that's a given.
yep.
It's just, the devil's in the details here.
Yeah, no, I think looking at this, given that the city is a additional insurer on this, I can talk with John and make sure that a lot of these applications, what they're looking at is looking for the specific address of where alcohol is going to be sold.
Fair enough.
And because of that, they have to list 1664 Bud Avenue because it makes the most sense there. But yeah, it's separate from the city. They're adding the city as an additional insurer and talking directly with the insurance agent. We would never be added as an additional insurer if we were the ones taking the policy out.
The Softball Association does not follow the same schedule as the
Correct.
Baseball Association. So, do the softball teams play on Thursdays, for example, or Tuesdays?
Mhm.
So is this all encompassing of 7 days in the week? I think when you were talking about days, because we did talk about it.
Yes, yes, it is. So this policy, if they were to provide this policy that they've drafted, it would cover them all 7 days, whenever it is.
Okay, so not just Sunday.
No,
Mm-mm.
Sunday is a additional check mark that you have to make.
Cause that's an exception.
That's an exception out of how the state of Minnesota
Mhm.
did.
I understand. The 3.2, the wine and beer, that's
Mhm.
encompassing
Mhm.
7 days a week, 6 days a week.
And
The
Sunday.
checkbox on the Sunday is specifically Sunday.
Correct.
Okay.
Madam Mayor,
Any
my
other
motion
questions?
is still on the floor,
Yes. Would you?
and an understanding, and the clarification being, this is not a license for liquor to be brought in. It is a license to sell the liquor
Correct.
on the site. So my motion still stands.
There's a motion by Councilmember DeLuca, looking for a second.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Councilmember Fay for a second. Any further discussion?
So, and that's adding dates, right?
Yeah, what
Okay.
I will, it provides them with the responsibility that they need to provide the city dates, which I would then share with West Hennepin, and that if there are any cancellations, that they need to let me know or West Hennepin directly know, when those dates are taking place so that they're able to still enforce our overarching ordinance that says no alcohol in the parks.
That the city is also named as an additional insured,
Yep. The city is also listed
abiding
in
by the
additional
training.
insurance.
and that those selling, because I'm assuming this will only be sold out of the concession stand?
Correct.
Okay, that those selling the beer go through the
Correct.
alcohol training.
And then you will not release any permits at all until you have the actual policy.
Yeah,
that's
no,
been
there's,
signed and
they gotta
paid
do
and-
some work with me yet in some of the paperwork, but,
Okay.
make sure that that's provided to me before they can sell.
And June to November is because softball generally has like fall leagues or something?
Yeah,
like
they could
that?
have something in the fall league, yep.
Okay.
Or if they make playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
Right, so there's a motion and a second.
And that includes the full application fee, correct?
Yes, the motion did.
Yep.
All right, any further discussion?
Full application and full year for
Mhm.
two.
Yep.
There was no.
And that's because my theory is we don't do that for anybody else.
Yep.
Any further discussion? All right, so we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. All right, motion carries. City council reports and other business. Who would like to start us off? Anyone have
I
anything?
can.
Okay, Councilmember Fay.
Let me grab my notes here. Let's see. We've been hard at work with Party in the Park.
Mhm.
It's going to make it to fruition here on Saturday, the 1st, from 4 to 11 p.m. I think we've crossed our T's and dotted our I's, and let's hope for some good weather and good turnout, and we'll be able to turn some money back to the park as far as proceeds. I attended fire relief meeting with Bobby last Thursday. Got an update on where the Fire Relief Association account is. It's currently in good standing. And I've been attending Rotary on a regular basis. Thursday morning is a breakfast in Mound at Gillespie Center, and it is to support We Can.
All right,
That's it.
thank you. Anyone else have anything to report? Councilmember DeLuca?
We had, Councilperson Caitlin and I had a HR meeting earlier in the month where we were working out the details of the employee handbook amendments and some issues related to leaves of absence.
And in addition to that, I attended with Mayor at the Chamber at the Spectralytics business in Maple Plain, and it's amazing to see what cool medical technology businesses we have right in this little small town. Pretty amazing. Check it out if you have a chance.
So as a council, we all had a very busy month. We had our reconvene meeting with the Board of Equalization, so we're glad that is done for another year. We had a special city council meeting. We had an EDA meeting, which was very exciting and continuing to make progress. And then we had some workshops as well. I was busy. I had the opportunity to attend the Minnesota Mayors Association Annual Conference, which was very informative. Something new this year is I went early and did a pre-conference, and a highlight was touring the prison in Stillwater. And just a challenge to us as elected officials is these inmates eventually will become our neighbors. And are we prepared for that as a society, welcoming them back to be productive and contributing people? So something to think about. We had a Highway 12 Safety Coalition meeting, and as always, just a reminder, we all need to do our part. Put our phones down and be safe and be aware of what we're doing out there. We look forward to seeing everyone Saturday, Party in the Park. That's been exciting. Was able to attend the Northwest Hennepin League of Municipalities, and Congressman Dean Phillips, Chief of Staff Zach Rodvald was there, and it's just been encouraging for as we build that relationship with them, and they're listening to needs, and it's nice to know that the little cities outside of the ballot loop are being heard, and so I appreciate that, and it's definitely been a good use of time. Also was able to go to the Hennepin County facility meeting, and we had a weed inspector meeting, so just a reminder, it's not a huge problem in Maple Plains, so I'm super thankful for that, but keep your yards cleaned up. And then we did also, Councilmember Cahill and I were able to, and staff were able to meet with Commissioner Jeff Johnson. So it's an exciting time. I think it's important, the collaboration that's going on and the networking, and we want to continue to keep that up because we care about the city and the future of that. And then also just want to shout out to the Paul Stinson Post 514, as yesterday they did a beautiful Memorial Day service. So thank you to all of those for their service, and they are not forgotten. So with that, I'm looking for a motion to adjourn.
I move we adjourn.
Moved by Councilmember DeLuca,
I'll second.
second by Councilmember DeLong. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, see you on Saturday at Party in the Park. Meeting adjourned. What is it? Oh.
6 minutes.